When blood turns bitter. The tragic tale of Agbaje and his younger brother, Ejike. In the heart of the dense forests of the eastern region, nestled among rolling hills, was the village of Mbowa. The village was a serene and vibrant place where the lush green vegetation mirrored the hopes and dreams of its people. Among its inhabitants were two brothers, Agbaje and Ejike, who shared a bloodline but not a bond of love. Agbaje was the elder of the two, a man of strong build but dark intentions. He lived his life consumed by envy and greed. His wife Nenna bore him two sons, yet their household was a shadowy reflection of bitterness and deceit. In stark contrast, Ejike, the younger brother, was industrious and virtuous. He was married to Iraku, a radiant woman, whose beauty was matched by her kindness. Together they had 7 children, whom they successfully nurtured and guided through university, even in the face of modest means. Ejike's family was the pride of Mbowa, known for their hard work, unity, and promising futures of their children. But as the years went by, tragedy seemed to knock incessantly at Ejike's door, casting a dark cloud over their lives. It all started when Ugonna, Ejike's first son, a prodigious mind who graduated with first-class honors and was awarded a scholarship to study overseas. The family rejoiced, and so did the villagers, who saw Ugonna as a beacon of hope for Mbowa. But just as dreams began to take a flight, Ugonna fell mysteriously ill. His condition worsened rapidly, and despite all efforts, he passed away. The family was plunged into sorrow. The villagers mourned alongside them, lamenting the untimely loss of a rising star. Yet, they consoled themselves with the hope that the other children would fulfill the promise of their lineage. Years later, Ujuako, Ejike's second child, graduated and secured a lucrative job. She brought renewed joy to the family, announcing plans to pursue further studies abroad. However, tragedy struck again. On the eve of her departure, she was knocked down by a speeding vehicle and died on the spot. Her death was a devastating blow, leaving the family in ruins. The once hopeful Ejike and Iraku began to question the inexplicable string of calamities. By the time their third child also succumbed after securing a prestigious job, the grief-stricken couple resolved to uncover the truth behind these deaths. But their efforts yielded no answers, and the deaths continued. Ikem, their fourth child, vanished without a trace, leaving the family in perpetual worry. Then came Diogo, their fifth child, a young lady of exceptional intelligence and generosity. She graduated with first-class honors in banking and finance and rose to become a bank manager. Diogo dedicated herself to helping widows and impoverished families in Mbowa, earning the admiration of the entire village. However, Diogo's light was extinguished when she succumbed to a sudden and mysterious illness. Her death shattered not only Ejike's family, but the entire community. After Diogo's burial, Nnenna paid a surprising visit to Iraku. Her face bore the weight of guilt, and her trembling voice betrayed her inner turmoil. "Iraku," she began, tears streaming down her face, "I can no longer keep silent. The deaths in your family, they are not natural. My husband Agbaje is responsible." Iraku froze in disbelief. She called Ejike to hear Nnenna's confession. Nnenna continued, I saw Diogo's picture on Agbaje's sacred altar. When I confronted him, he threatened me. It was only after Diogo's death that I realized the extent of his wickedness. Ejike's blood boiled with fury. Without hesitation, he stormed to Agbaje's house, demanding answers. Agbaje, unrepentant, smirked and bragged about his actions. Yes, I did it, he confessed. I killed your children. I did it because you denied me help when I needed it most. Ejike was shocked at his brother's confession. Summoned by the king and the village elders, Agbaje was forced to explain his actions before the entire community. His confession sent shock waves through Mbowa. Years ago, Agbaje began, when my wife was pregnant and on the verge of miscarrying. I begged Ejike for money to save her and the child. He gave me only a small amount of money, saying he needed to complete his house. My wife lost the pregnancy and I cursed him in my heart. Agbaje's voice wavered with bitterness. Later on, when my son fell gravely ill, I begged him again. He refused, claiming he had no money. I felt abandoned and humiliated, so I decided to make him pay. Each time one of his children succeeded, I ended their life so he would feel the pain I felt. Ejike, overcame with emotion, stood up and confronted his brother. Agbaje, have you forgotten how many times I helped you? On countless occasions, I gave you money to start up businesses, but you squandered it on frivolities. How dare you blame me for your failures? I paid your children's school fees. I have given you so much help, even when it wasn't convenient for me. Yet, you chose to pay me back with evil. Agbaje, he said, today you cease to be my brother. You will suffer for killing my children, shattering our hopes and destroying my family. The villagers murmured in agreement. They recalled how Ejike had always been a pillar of support for his brother. The king, deeply saddened by Agbaje's cruelty, pronounced a grave judgment. Agbaje, your actions have brought untold sorrow to your brother and disgrace to our village. You are hereby excommunicated. From this day forth, no one in Mbowa shall associate with you. After being excommunicated by the king and shunned by the villagers, Agbaje's life descended into utter misery. The once proud and domineering man who boasted of his malevolent deeds was now reduced to a pitiful figure. His suffering unfolded in ways that mirrored the pain he had inflicted on Ejike's family. The excommunication decree from the king was more than just a formal punishment. It severed Agbaje from the lifeline of the community. Villagers refused to speak to him or even acknowledge his presence. He could no longer buy or sell at the market, forcing him to depend on the wild for food. Children were warned to stay away from him, and his name became synonymous with wickedness. As Agbaje's life unraveled, his wife Nnenna, who had stood by him through his schemes, could no longer endure the shame. She packed her belongings and left him. Nnenna cursed Agbaje as she walked out, shouting, "You killed innocent children, and now your own family abandons you. May you reap the full harvest of your wickedness." Agbaje's two sons, who were once full of potentials, became stigmatized and the unwilling bearers of their father's sins. The villagers saw them as cursed, and they were denied opportunities to work, marriage, or social advancements. Humiliated and destitute, the boys wandered aimlessly, unable to forge meaningful lives or to carve out a future for themselves. One of his sons turned to drinking, seeking solace in palm wine, and was often found lying in ditches. The other son fled the village entirely, swearing to never return. Agbaje's lineage, once a source of pride for him, dissolved into nothingness. Agbaje's farmland, once productive, became barren. No matter how hard he toiled, his crops withered before harvest. The villagers whispered that the gods themselves had cursed the soil under his feet. His livestock, once a source of wealth, mysteriously died one after the other. With no means of sustaining himself, Agbaje scavenged for food, often reduced to eating scraps thrown away by villagers. Agbaje began to experience strange occurrences. At night, he heard whispers in the darkness, voices that sounded like the children he had killed. "Why did you take my life, uncle?" Ugonna's voice echoed in his dreams. "Did my success offend you?" Ujuaku's ghostly figure would ask, standing at the foot of his bed. Agbaje stopped sleeping altogether. Haunted by their faces, his health deteriorated rapidly, as the lack of rest and constant fear consumed him. Once a robust and energetic man, Agbaje became gaunt and frail. His hair turned grey almost overnight, and his back bent as though weighed down by an invisible burden. Agbaje developed sores on his body that refused to heal, no matter how much he treated them. The villagers whispered that these sores were marks of the god's punishment, a visible sign of his wickedness. Agbaje's pride, which had fueled his wickedness, crumbled into despair. He would often sit outside his dilapidated hut, muttering to himself and wailing at the unfairness of life. "I only wanted justice for what my brother did to me," he would cry, but no one listened. The villagers ignored him, and even the wind seemed to carry his words away. The few men who had once admired Agbaje's cunning and strength turned their backs on him. Some had secretly supported his schemes against Ejike, but as the truth of his action came to light, they distanced themselves out of fear of retribution from the gods. Agbaje found himself utterly alone, with no one to share his pain or his regrets. One fateful market day, as the villagers gathered to trade and celebrate a festival, Agbaje, driven by hunger, crept into the market square to beg for food. The sight of him caused an uproar. "Wicked Agbaje," the villagers shouted, "the man who killed his brother's children dares to show his face here." Some threw stones at him, while others spat on his direction. A widow, whose life Diogo had once saved, threw a handful of ashes at him, shouting, "You are the reason I lost my helper. May the ground reject you." Humiliated and bruised, Agbaje fled the market, swearing never to return. In the end, Agbaje's life was marked by complete solitude. His once vibrant household was reduced to silence. He spent his days muttering to himself, often recounting his wicked deeds as if in a trance. His neighbors heard him say things like, "I took Ugonna's life, then Ujuako. Did I go too far?" The once proud man, who had sought revenge against his brother, now lived as a broken shell of his former self. Ejike and Iraku, though deeply scared, found solace in the truth. Their remaining children went on to achieve remarkable success, bringing light into their family. Years later, as Agbaje lay on his deathbed, he sent words to Ejike, begging for forgiveness. Ejike, though still burdened by the pain of his sons, visited his estranged brother. "Agbaje," he said, "your wickedness has caused my family unimaginable pains. But I forgive you, not for your sake, but for mine. May your soul find peace, though I doubt it will." With those words, Agbaje drew his last breath, leaving behind a legacy of bitterness and regret. Ejike's family emerged stronger from their ordeal. They honored the memories of their lost children by dedicating their lives to services and kindness. The remaining children achieved greatness, ensuring that the family's legacy remained untarnished. The village of Mbowa, though forever scared by Agbaje's action, learned the importance of love, forgiveness, and the dangers of envy. And in the shadow of their ancestors, the people vowed to never let bitterness destroy their unity. Agbaje's tale became a cautionary story, passed down through generations as a reminder that wickedness, no matter how justified one may feel, always comes at a great cost.
Thank you very much for watching.